Welcome to PBCJ's coverage of the sitting of the Senate. I'm Simone Absalom, and I'll provide a brief outline of what's expected to take place during the sitting. But before we begin, did you know that since 1960, the official meeting place of the government has been the George William Gordon House, more popularly known as Gordon House, located on Duke Street in downtown Kingston. Gordon House is named in honor of one of Jamaica's national heroes. On the session's agenda, the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency Act 2018. The bill seeks to further develop MOCA as an elite law enforcement investigative agency operating autonomously of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the JCF. First launched on June 4, 2012, and assuming full operations in September of that same year, MOCA focuses on taking the profit out of crime and aims to target top-level crime figures and their facilitators in a bid to destroy their criminal networks and seize their assets. In August 2014, MOCA was merged with the JCF's anti-corruption branch, thereby creating a greater reach and an increased capacity to undertake investigations into persons of interest, including police and persons occupying public office. To date, MOCA, with multi-agency support, has conducted approximately 921 operations, 3,467 polygraph examinations, caused 1,060 arrests, charged 691 persons, secured 151 convictions, and seized $1.89 billion in assets. That's what's on the agenda. It should be noted, though, that elements of the day's agenda can be changed or moved. But before we go, here are a few things you should bear in mind if you plan to attend a session at Gordon House. No visitor shall create any act of disorder within the precincts of the House. No visitor shall be admitted to the House without first obtaining an admission card from the office of the clerk. Visitors who remain within the precincts of the House during a suspension of the session are asked to keep silent. No photography, videography, or sketching of the proceedings is allowed, unless so authorized by the presiding officer, and there should be no smoking inside the parliamentary building. Now over to the proceedings.
They can start selling the bags in the supermarket, start giving them away. The government has indicated an intention to take some steps towards the banning of plastic bags. That's one thing. But you would have thought that the manufacturers would have, and the wholesalers and retailers would have taken some interest in maintaining the country in which they make a living. Not to mention the tourist industry. The tourist industry continues to use plastic straws and plastic cups. And they don't understand that they are destroying their own tourist product. It really is fascinating to me that you are making a living out of a country. You're making a living selling things to people. You're making a living in the tourist industry. And you don't understand that it is in your interest to protect the environment. It's bizarre. Well, I'm going to make a promise here to the Senate today. I am going to start carrying my tote bag to the supermarket. I don't want no plastic scandal bag from no supermarket.
Sir, Mr. President.
Mr. Webber, I'm not finished yet.
Mr. President.
I'm not finished yet.
Oh.
And anybody who see me in a supermarket from now on without my tote bag, if you can identify me taking a plastic bag in the supermarket, I will pay your grocery bill. No, I don't, and I really, and what is happening, what I see happening in the world, you have some country all over the world that normally follow back at Jamaica, and they are taking some steps towards banning the use of these plastics. It is in our interest, it's in the national interest for us to move to ban the use of these products. The private sector must play its part. The government has declared an intention. Thank you very much. I'm sorry to vent this morning.
My name when you're venting, and I think it's appropriate that I respond. I agree with you, Mr. President, that the private sector certainly should be more proactive in terms of the environment as you described. But what is clear to me, Mr. President, you have actually been shopping at the wrong supermarket. The supermarket that I'm involved in on Earth Day, we have started a program of using recycled bags. And it has been such a tremendous success from the consumers that we have to be reordering basically on a weekly basis to keep up the demand. So the point that I'm making, it's like a tote bag, and you pay something for it and you carry it back. And it has been a tremendous, tremendous success, especially at Barbican. I know you would have seen it. So I think what we need to do is to encourage those that are doing it already, and for those that are not, we encourage it. Because the truth is, it's a win-win-win, as you are saying, for the country, for the consumer, and for business. Because the truth is, the recycled bags actually work out cheaper than the plastic bags in terms of consumer. So, Mr. President, thanks for those comments. I agree with you that the private sector should be more proactive in terms of what we are doing, but I can assure you there are some of us who are already being proactive in trying to save our environment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Webby, and thanks for the case of water that you sent in the plastic bottles that you sent for me this week.
Mr. President, sir, I seek your permission to speak from a seat other than my own. And before I start, I would say that perhaps you could help us along with changing the culture by giving us all some of those recyclable bags that you have. Last night I was at a certain place where I go every Thursday because of my 20% discount, and I saw them. But, Mr. President, I'm so pleased that you have raised the issue about plastics in our ocean, because as we celebrate World Oceans Day under the theme Preventing Plastic Pollution and Encouraging Solutions for a Healthy Ocean, I think all of us as Jamaicans, in fact, the entire world, must pause and consider the state of our ocean. There is no doubt that over the last decade or two, the state of our oceans have really declined. And our very existence really rests on how we treat with our oceans and, in fact, our marine life. I recall reading an article where they shared with us some findings where fish, for example, and marine life, that not only are they dying, but when you cut them, you actually find plastics in their intestines. And so, there you go. And so it is very appalling, and we are really forced to stop and think about how we treat with the environment, how we treat with the disposal of our plastics, in fact, how we treat with the use of plastics. But the issue goes beyond the plastic, Mr. President, and is about waste disposal. I think what is required as we mark this day is a constant public education campaign, and Senator Samuda knows it is my thing. It's something I talk about every day, because we have to change the culture of our people, and I believe that it can be done. I think that there just needs to be some kind of encouragement. There has to be greater consultation, and I am pleased that the minister has indicated certain plans in terms of the phasing out and banning of plastics, and I am hoping, Senator Samuda, that in very short order that we will know the timeline for this. And again, I echo the sentiments I shared with you earlier, that there has got to be continued consultation with stakeholders. The fact is, when we look at plastics, I mean, over 1.5 million tons of plastics really enter the ocean each year. And there is no doubt that we have to do something about it. And as we contemplate what we can do, we have to also look at what we have been doing and how we can right some of those things. One of the things that comes to mind easily is, for example, the environmental levy and the we have to question, are we using the levy for the purpose for which it was intended? And how can we use something like the environmental levy to further enhance the work and to protect the environment through public education, through more recycling projects? And so I called on all stakeholders, the government, the private sector today, as we stop and contemplate our own existence, our future, and that of our children, that we take every step that we can to correct this injustice, because it isn't an injustice to the environment, and that we resolve today to start, just as you have done, Mr. President, to start walking with your recycled tote bag, that each of us make that resolve, that we too will play our part in protecting the environment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Recently, I had to participate at the university with some overseas and regional, overseas mean wider field, and regional academics concerning the ocean economy, the blue economy, from the Economic Growth Council. And in preparing for that, I came to realize just how valuable the ocean is to an island state like Jamaica. We've just taken it for granted. We've sold beaches all these years, and we've been polluting it. Unfortunately, the visible and unsightly part of our pollution, especially dealing with plastics, is from the ocean. You see it wash up and so on. There's a serious pollution problem as well, Mr. President, that we do not see except occasionally when a landfill burns. Across the world, and including in Jamaica, we have billions of tons of waste, largely plastic, in landfills. We're not sure where we're going to put it much more any further. So apart from the ocean, an even bigger problem rests on land. And so I'm pleased, Mr. President, to note that as a man of high standing, and not just somebody who is normally seen as a homemaker, has made the public decision to carry his tote bag to the supermarket, and probably, on the encouragement of Senator Webby, to shop at a supermarket that offers tote bags and not just scandal bags. I'm pleased to see all that happening, and the men and women are noting. But, Mr. President, there's also something else on this Blue Economy Day, the Ocean Day, the Sea Day that we're looking at. And it's this. I chair the Tax Reform Working Group at the Ministry of Finance. And in that, looking at the taxes, there's a tax on the book from 18-something another that has to do with cattle, bringing cattle and canine things into the island, made under the British. We kept the law. That law prohibits us from doing certain things with conch and lobster and so on, that allows our neighbors to come in and fish in our waters and take away our lobster and conch and so on, because we have this stupid rule in the book. So in that process, we also need to look at the rules that govern our oceans and update them and make sure there are sufficient encouragement in the new rules to encourage people to handle plastic properly. And Mr. President, equally important, sufficient sanctions to make sure those of us who don't abide by the sensible rules that are made to protect our oceans pay a price for it. I'm glad that you carry your tote. Thank you, Mr. President. President
Morris, you could tell me what this debate here, what heading this debate would fall under. Senator Samuda, you want?
So, Mr. President, I wish to associate myself with your statement. My estimates and the information I have is that it's actually approximately 8 million tons of plastic that enters the ocean every year, and increasing. It's only about 10 to 12%, depending on which study you follow, of single-use plastics actually being caught in the recycling net globally. Now, whether it's Earth Day as celebrated in April, or World Environment Day, or World Oceans Day, the fact is, Mr. President, we are actually doing things that are deleterious to our health, deleterious to our future, in the way we consume single-use plastics. There is no, I don't know, some of you would have seen, there is a plastic island developing in the Pacific. But more recently, and I think for us to understand, there's also now a plastic island developing in the Caribbean Sea off the coast of Honduras, Mr. President. And the fact is, there is many types of tourism, sports tourism, ecotourism, but there is no garbage tourism, Mr. President. There is no fillet plastic bottle. So we are literally drowning the hopes and dreams of our fishermen. We are kicking ourselves in the foot with our tourism product, and we are literally making our country a worse place for our children if we continue the way we are going with plastic bottles. I am in firm agreement that the steps to be taken with single-use plastic must extend to things like straws. They are low-hanging fruit that we can easily have gains with. And Mr. President, as I close, I just encourage all Jamaicans to themselves become environmentalists. Let us be a nation of environmentalists. Let us care for the country, for our children and for our grandchildren, so that it is there for the long haul. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. You talk about the straws being a low-hanging fruit. The other things that I think we need to look at is microplastics, because as they start to ban them in the developed world, they're going to start to export them to Jamaica in various products, shampoo and body scrub. That body scrub that you use in Cavan, you need to make sure you don't have. Thank you very much for indulging me, members of the Senate. Statements by ministers. Announcements.
Laid on the table of the Senate today are the following: Ministry Paper number 18 of 2018 and Annual Report of the Public Accountancy Board for the year ended March 31, 2017. Ministry Papers numbers 40 to 53 of 2018 entitled Performance for Financial Year 2017-2018 and Priority Focus for 2018-2019 for the undermentioned agencies falling under the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology: International Center for Environmental and Nuclear Sciences, National Commission on Science and Technology, Post and Telecommunications Department, E-Learning Jamaica Company Limited, National Energy Solutions Limited, Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, Spectrum Management Authority, Scientific Research Council, the Universal Service Fund, Petrojam Limited, Petrojam Ethanol Limited, Wigton Wind Farm Limited, eGov Jamaica Limited, and the Board of Examiners. Ministry Paper number 56 of 2018 and Annual Report of the Financial Sector Adjustment Company Limited, FinSAC, for the year ended March 31, 2017. The Auditor General's report on the examination of the fiscal policy paper for the year 2018-2019. Annual report and audited financial statements of the Jamaica Railway Corporation for the financial year 2015-2016. Annual report of the Consumer Affairs Commission for the year 2015-2016. Annual report of the Jamaica National Agency for Accreditation for the year 2016-2017. The Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, first quarterly report 2018 for the period January to March 2018. Annual report of the Tourism Enhancement Fund, TEF. Annual report of the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development for the year 2017-2018. Quarterly report of the Ministry of Health, May 2018, and the Ministry of Health Key Initiatives 2017-2018. The Local Governance, Municipal of Portmore, Change of Name Order 2018 under the Local Governance Act.
Thank you. Bills brought from the Honourable House of Representatives. Petitions. Papers. Reports from committees. Notices of motions given orally. Minister, you may speak from a chair seat other than your own.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the Senate, it will be moved, the following motion will be moved. The Local Governance Act, the Local Governance Municipality of Portmore, Change of Name Order, Resolution 2018, whereas Section 5.3a of the Local Governance Act, hereinafter referred to as the Act, continued the municipality of Portmore as a city municipality under the Act, and whereas Section 5.3b of the Act provides that this city municipality is to be known as the municipality of Portmore, unless otherwise determined by the Minister by order subject to affirmative resolution. And whereas on the 9th day of February 2018, the Minister made the Local Governance, the Municipality of Portmore, Change of Name Order 2018. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Honourable Senate as follows. 1. This resolution may be cited as a Local Governance Municipality of Portmore Change of Name Order Resolution 2018. 2. The Local Governance Municipality of Portmore Change of Name Order 2018, which was laid on the table of the Senate on the 8th day of June 2018, is hereby affirmed.
Thank you. Questions and answers to questions? Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motions relating to the sitting of the Senate. Motions for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without the leave of the Senate first obtained. Public business.
Mr. President, the debate on the bill, the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency Act 2018, started on March 9th, 2018 and continued on the 16th of March. And today we are to continue the deliberations at committee stage for this bill, having at the last instance reached, I believe, clause 12 of the bill. Mr. President, not to get into any debate, but just to remind us that at that last instance there were 2 Court of Appeal decisions that were handed down that gave us pause. And that was the reason why the technical team, who I also take the opportunity to acknowledge for the hard work that they have done, has taken the time to really evaluate for us to be able to present today, which has been presented, I gather, at the last sitting of the Senate, a list of amendments, which all colleague senators should have from the last sitting. That list of amendments, Mr. President, contains, further to the evaluation by our technical team, the amendments which consider the 2 Court of Appeal decisions, in addition to several remarks and comments that were made by colleague senators on both sides. Some of those very sensible comments have been introduced into the list of amendments, and I'm certain, Mr. President, that we should have no difficulty today. I believe that we will move smoothly through committee stage, particularly because you will see from the list of amendments that it addresses several of the fundamental issues that have been raised also by the opposition colleagues.
Thank you very much, Minister. The Senate will now resolve itself into a committee of the whole Senate to continue the consideration of the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency Act 2018 from Clause 12 and the remaining clauses of the bill.
President. Yeah? Yeah, President, no, hold on a second, hold on a second. I note the comment about clause 12, but it appeared to me from the amendment sheet that we'll have to recommit. Yeah.
Senator Brown, what Senator Brown?
Yes, Chairman, as I was saying, well understood, Senator Brown. Actually, if you recall, at the last instance, there are some of these issues which you had asked for us to hold off on until we finish the other matters. So I've listed them on the amendment sheet so that you know that they have been acknowledged for us to continue from 12, and then when we finish, we return to recommit and treat with those other matters. So we were at clause 12, Mr. Chairman. And I'm waiting on you, Mr. Chairman. Clause 12, Mr. Chairman, and at the last instance, there was no decision taken in regard to this clause. So there are some amendments which we have proposed as it regards to the clause 12, which take into consideration some of the comments that were made by our colleague senators. And so the Director General now would be appointed by the Governor General upon the recommendation of the Prime Minister after consultation with the Leader of the Opposition. And so this simplifies the process and it removes some of the issues which were raised by our colleague senators. In addition, we have also extended the term of appointment of the Director General from 3 to 5 years, again, based on comments which were made, and after evaluation, no difficulty in that regard. So we've taken into account the concerns in relation to the term as well. So you'll see clause 12 as amended on page 2 of the list of amendments.
Thank you, Minister. So I put the amendment to clause number 12.
Clarify, Chairman. At 3, the concern was raised about the duration of a reappointment. You have remained silent on that, and I take it to be that a reappointment would be for the same duration as the initial appointment.
Well, that was my understanding at the last instance as well.
Clause 12 as amended. Those in favor? Against? Ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, there are no amendments to clause 13 up to 15.
Well, a question on clause 13. I see those persons that are not entitled to be appointed to be the Director General. Yeah. 13. But given the sensitive nature of this agency and the role of Director General, it would be implied here that an immediate past senator, a member of parliament, thus retired or not being re-elected, or a losing candidate, could be so appointed immediately after an election in such a critical position. So do we want that to be so, or we want to put some form of limit to distance from? So let's say you have the next general election and a person loses or retires. Based on this clause, that person could be immediately appointed as a Director General. and could still be being active in the political sphere, I believe we must have some form of conditionality to this person and have a period where this person would not be so entitled to be appointed.
Senator Skeffrey, you know, if Senator Knight was here, he would take issue with you on it, you know.
And I'm here in my own right as Senator Skeffrey, not Senator Knight. With due respect.
No, I'm not being...
Yeah, no, Mr. President, wait, no. If he would take issue, he's so entitled. I'm proposing my recommendation here as a senator, and the Senate can so decide, please.
You choose to become aggressive.
Yeah,
I'm
but...
simply pointing out to you that on occasions our members have said that they don't understand why it is that politicians or ex-politicians can't be...
Yes, Mr. President, but
whatever,
I said...
no problem.
No,
no
I said... No. I sit here in my own right. I said,
Did I suggest that you didn't sit here in your own right?
Yeah, man. I said, given the sense... Why you attacking, Mr. President?
Whatever. Go ahead. Minister, go ahead, please.
I said, given the sensitive nature, we are establishing a new agency, major organized crime agency. Right? That's going to clean out corruption.
I have a feeling I know why you are feeling a bit sensitive today, but I never really intended.
Mr. President, you seem to come with a personal issue. You seem to come with a personal issue with due respect. Please.
Mr. Chairman, in relation to the, well, what I would want clarification on Senator Skeffrey is if you are making a proposed amendment, but
I'm just saying nobody that has served within the last 3 years, 4 years, or was on a ticket in the last general election, something like that. Put a clause that would put some qualification to that.
So this is actually a matter which I believe at the last instance was addressed by your colleague as well. And the understanding was that because clause 12.2 requires that there be consultation with the leader of the opposition as well, and that the 13, which creates some kind of parameters in itself as it regards to the membership, there really wasn't any reasoning why somebody who was a past senator would not have an opportunity to also be considered. I believe it's actually Senator Knight that took umbrage to that proposition, that persons who held positions of highest responsibility in our country would not be sufficient to be considered. I do think that in the determination of who would hold these positions, everything would be taken into, all variables would be taken into consideration.
I hear, Minister,
it might be prejudicial.
Yeah, but we are taking, each bill is taking its own context. And given the nature of this bill, the MOCA bill, you analyze it in that context, not a general policy.
But the proposition...
So for the last bill, for example, I had no problem with that recommendation. I'm here dealing with a separate bill in a different context.
What I'm saying to you, colleague, is, Senator Skeffrey, is what you're saying is that somebody who has held our positions as senator would not be fit to be considered for the position. And I don't see where there's a strong basis for that. I do understand what you're suggesting, and if you have a proposed amendment, then we can put it. It's something that I'll ask the technical team about as well, and we can vote on it.
Yes, Mr. President. I find favor with the suggestion from Senator Skeffrey, because I don't see or hear Senator Skeffrey being hostile to the particular section. What I see Senator Skeffrey trying to do, recognizing the nature of this legislation and the institution that we are trying to set up, we want to make sure that whosoever holds the senior position and a critical position such as this is an individual that, is going to be above board. Nobody can question political connections or affiliation. And even though Minister Charles has pointed out that this matter is going to be subject to consultation with the leader of the opposition by the Prime Minister, it doesn't necessarily mean that if the leader of the opposition objects, that the Prime Minister is going to adhere to the objection of the leader of opposition. So I think that, it wouldn't do any harm if Senator Skeffry's suggestion is included in the...
Mr. Chairman, just to...
1 minute, Senator. Thank you, Senator Morris. Minister, you're saying something?
No, I was just drawing our attention to clause 20, which speaks to the procedures relating to appointment, wherein clause 22 designates that a person shall not be eligible to be appointed to the post of DG under section 12 or any other post under the section unless, and it lists out 3 of the specificities that are considered. One being that the person is a person of integrity capable of exercising competence, diligence, sound judgment, and impartiality in fulfilling his functions. So,
thank you, Senator. Thank you.
It really addresses the issues that are of concern.
Proposal for adjournment for the amendment.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Sir President. I think we're having a misunderstanding between what Senator Skeffry is saying and what we're answering to. Senator Skeffry is not saying that a politician can never be appointed. He's saying that there should be a period of removal from active politics so that the perception isn't that those who are perceived by the public to be most corrupt. I'm not saying that's true. I'm not saying that's factual. I'm saying that if it is a person is immediately removed from political participation, it may blur the lines of trust and confidence. And so he's not saying, as I would agree, that a politician should never. I don't think that is so. I think he's saying that it should be a period of removal for this bill to allow for it. I think that's what he's saying, and not necessarily that they should be disqualified.
Fine. Mr. Chairman, can I ask,
sure.
can I ask in that we just
A specific proposal to put. 13.1a as Roman 1, 2, and 3. I wish to propose a 13.1a Roman 4, which would say, as being a member of the House of either houses of Parliament, a parish council, or the whatever is at 3, or has been a candidate for either 2, the House of Representatives, or 3, council or municipal corporation, city municipality, or town municipality in the past 5 years.
That is the proposed.
So the proposal is to put a bar for any person of the Senate.
I hear it. I hear it.
That's all just clear, because my colleagues had given an indication that they were. So that essentially what we're saying, if 5 years from the Senate, the House, councils are a candidate or candidacy for either the House or any of the councils.
Thank you, Senator Brown. I think that we have heard it. There is a proposed amendment to the amendment sheet. Those in favor? Against? The noes have it. Can I put no the amendment to clause 13, which is found?
There's no amendment to
I'm sorry.
13,
yes,
14, and 15.
Yes, can I now put clause 13? Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Put clause 14. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. I put clause 15. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. There is an
amendment to clause 16.
To clause 16.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and that amendment is to be consistent with the method of appointment as stated in clause 12. So therefore the Governor General, once is satisfied on the listed grounds, would have the capacity to remove the Director General from office on the recommendation of the Prime Minister after consultation with the Leader of the Opposition. And so, as was stated in our previous Senate sitting, we are safeguarding against any arbitrary dismissal and, of course, for the preserving of the rule of law. So the amendment is to 16 is listed on page 2 of your list of amendments.
Thank you very much. So I put the amendment proposed to clause 16.
Mr. Chairman, I just wish some clarification on subsection 5, Minister. Because throughout the section, it mentions the Governor General after consultation with the Prime Minister and Leader of Opposition, sir.
Yes.
Yes. But I noticed at subsection 5 that it only speaks to the Governor General taking certain actions without any consultation, and I wonder whether that was the intent or whether it's an oversight.
No. Well, the Governor General makes his determination further to the tribunal, and the tribunal will be the tribunal which is consisting of individuals who hold or have held office as a judge of a court having unlimited jurisdiction in civil and criminal matters in the Commonwealth. And so that tribunal will be fitted with persons of sufficiency who would advise the Governor General. Yes.
Amendment to clause 16. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. I put clause 16 as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Clause 17.
There's no proposed amendment to clause 17.
So I put clause 17. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. There are amendments to clause 18 contained on page 5, I believe.
Or 4 of the new list. Yes, the substitution of subclause 1.
I put the amendment proposed.
Chairman, I'm seeing on subsection 2, he may, after constitution, I believe that should be consultation.
Where is that?
So, the third line in 2, after consultation, it should be consultation with committee, appoint an officer of the agency.
Okay, no, the editorial is no.
Editorial.
Yeah, okay. So I put the amendment to clause 18. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. I put clause 18 as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Clause 19, there is no proposed amendment, so I put clause 19. Those in favor?
Aye.
Before, President,
Sorry, 1 minute.
I just want to be clear that what it is saying here is that the DPP retains his or her power under Section 94 to intervene in any prosecution and to stop it. That's what is being retained. Just want to be clear.
Well, it would never supersede the constitutional power.
So the DPP can intervene and
That's a constitution. That's from the Constitution.
And with that, I have no problem. I just want to.
Thank you, Senator Brown. I put clause 19. I'm sorry. Yes, clause 19. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Clause 20, there's no amendment, and I put the clause. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Likewise, no amendment to clause 21. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Clause 22.
There is an amendment.
Seems to be a renumbering issue.
Yeah, there's a proposed amendment to delete subclauses 2, 3, and 4 of 22. And this, Mr. Chairman, arises from some of the concerns that were raised at the last sitting regarding the borrowing powers of the agency. Now, this agency is a body corporate. It retains body corporate status, and so as per Section 28 of the Interpretation Act, it is unnecessary for us to put these subclauses because within that context, it already has those borrowing powers. So we have removed subclause 2, 3, and 4.
Thank you. So I put
no concern about this now. Body power, body corporate or not, right? It is, as I understood it in the title of the bill, it says it's an agency of the government.
Yes.
And I understand the financial regulations requires that the ability to borrow money is subject to the approval of the Minister of Finance. And what I sense in the clause before you remove them, which might have worsened the situation, is that they had unlimited power to borrow without any control. And I think that this may be in conflict with the existing financial responsibility legislations.
You mean it may have been? What we have removed would remove the concerns that you had. It was based on those concerns that we removed it. And so it would fall to the ordinary body corporate status that is arisen from Section 28 of the Interpretation Act and any obligations that flow from that. So you would not have the ambiguity which was there before as you defined it.
No, my concern as a citizen of this country is under whatever name we do is not to give government agencies the power to borrow money, run up the national debt without approval from the elected Minister of Finance. And I'm not sure if what you're doing removes that or reaffirms that no government agency, no matter how described, can borrow money without the approval of the Ministry of Finance. And that's what I want to be clear and satisfied that is, we're going to do it properly.
Well, I don't think there is anything that suggests that it is or would be done improperly. It falls within the usual obligations that arise from a body corporate status definition in our Interpretation Act. So my understanding is that any obligation that flows from that would be attached to this. If you want, what I could do, Mr. Chairman, is ask for clarification, and we could move on to another clause and recommit this.
Mr. Brown, you want further clarification on it? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
No
I like that mood that you're in.
As I say, I understand why Mr. Skeffrey might be a bit. But you want me to apologize? Senator Skeffrey, I apologize to you. I understand why you might be in a bit of a fractious. I understand why you might be in a bit of a fractious mood. Who wouldn't be? Let's go. So we're going to recommit section 22.
22.
So I will deal with 23.
23, there's a proposed amendment to clause 23, Mr. Chairman, and that is simply for us to add a subclause 4 following subclause 3, which introduces the Auditor General, which at the last instance it has been expressed that the Auditor General had been omitted from performing a function under the bill. And
yeah,
so
I remember that. So I put the amendment to clause 23. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. I put clause 23 as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Clause 24.
You can take it straight up from 24 to clause 30, Mr. Chairman.
But I can't do that without agreement from everybody. Is everybody agreed to that?
Yes, no.
24 to where?
24 to clause 30. There are no amendments, and there were no issues.
Okay, so I put clauses.
There's one, take it up to 29.
Okay, so I put clauses 24 to 29. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it.
No, sorry, 29. In subsection 3.
You want me,
yeah, recommit, please.
So okay, so let me take 24 to 28. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. I recommit clause 29. Those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Thank you, Senator.
Subsection 3, 29, subsection 3. As I noticed that there's no timeline when the minister should present the report to Parliament, both houses. So there's a timeline when it should be presented to him, but he has no timeline to present it to the people through the Parliament.
Minister, you have a comment on that?
I crave your indulgence, Mr. Chairman. I'm considering what...
It would seem to me that if you put a time on it, it wouldn't be an issue.
President, I see the value of having a timeline, but there is certain exigencies in the system that makes it difficult, it appears to me, to comply with. And are we setting up an illegality even before the bill is passed? I understand the spirit of it, but I don't think it should be done.
Mr. President, the chair probably for the senator does probably elaborate more why you think it shouldn't be done. You understand, but don't think. I just probably want to know why. Yeah, and there's always mechanism that if it's not done with the time, you get validation and you seek permission to delay. But at least if we're talking about accountability, we only measure accountability by a timeline which is for efficiency. And if you can't, the Parliament will understand and justify.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps it would be prudent, considering both perspectives that has been presented, for the technical team to take some time to look at the matter. If we could proceed, and we'll return to it, so that I can properly consider what Senator Skeffrey has suggested.
President, the item I have at 30 is at 34. It's along the same line. So if they want to look at 34, which has a specific thing, because my question is going to be, what if there's a failing? So maybe you want to look at...
Exactly, and it was raised by...
All right. So we're going to move
Senator
on from 29 and we'll recommit 29. So
yes, and 30.
And 30?
Yes, so
okay.
We'll move to...
I thought you had said 30.
30 subsection 4. Yes. So if we could move on to clause 31, in which the proposed amendment is very clear. In this proposed amendment, Mr. Chairman, it gives effect so that the Director General cannot decline to facilitate the exchange of information between strategic partners or law enforcement agencies on the basis that they have failed to make a contribution towards the cost of exchange. And that was a concern raised, I believe, on more than just one side. And this is, of course, precipitated on those comments. So we'll put the proposed amendment to clause 31.
No, before I get to that, Chairman, I'm concerned, Chairman, and I'm sure my friends on the other side will support me on 31(1). As it is now, any contract, MOU, or other agreement or arrangement may be entered in with strategic partners, but there's nothing in 31 which requires that such an agreement can be kept at a park camp or should be disclosed to the public of the country. And I want to be clear that that's not what they intend, because they are on record of being opposed to such MOUs being confidential and kept at Upper Camp. So I am wondering if there is a omission somewhere here for these agreements, these secret agreements, to be revealed to the public.
Senator Brown is a brave man.
Mr. President, really?
Where the hiding place? I hope.
No, that's clear.
Minister, you have a comment?
Clearly not the intent, Mr. Chairman. But if we could put the proposed amendment.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Minister.
You're asking me to respond as to whether the government is intending to have secret agreements?
The question is whether or not it is intended that these agreements, which at this point on the 31-1 appears to be secretive, are going to be open to disclosure to the public. For example, is there going to be a time limit which says after 5 years they may be disclosed, after 10 years, after 30 years they may be disclosed? Because it appeared to me these agreements relating to security issues, which could include security cooperations. And I have in mind the criticism of the Anthem agreement, whether or not what this legislation is doing is reinforcing that approach, an approach which some believe was correctly entered into and kept the way it was kept. So I just want to make sure that what is being said here is to reaffirm the approach taken in the past and not now to move to a new position which says it is open to the public.
Minister, you intend to make any change to this?
No.
Senator Brown, you intend to make a formal
I don't think there's not much that gives any rise.
So Mr. President?
If there was, Mr. Chairman, I think that in the spirit of how I have sought to proceed, that if there were any substantive issues of concern, I would certainly address them.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I'm satisfied that it is the government's intention, and they have my support, to continue the practice of the past.
So I don't know, that completely fly over my head, but that's all right. I put the amendment to 31. I put the amendment to 31. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? I put section 31 as amended. Section 32, there is an amendment proposed on page 5.
Yes, just the substitution of a word.
Right, I see that. So I put
Mr. Chair, on 32D. And set class 32D, I see the various members, 3D. I see the various members that can be appointed to the oversight committee. And these are all persons that have specific skill set. But I believe any committee like this would need someone from civil society, more so a human rights group, to ensure we have the balance and fair play. So I'm propose that we said 2 members, so perhaps 3 members, or say 2 members and of another addition 4, and a member from civil society or human rights group, so as to ensure at all times we protect the rights of our citizens when we have to move to investigate them.
Mr. President, Chairman, at 5, sorry, you went?
No, go ahead.
At 5, Mr. Chairman, I would like to propose at 5A the similar proposal I made at 13-1A, which is it should have a limit on 5 years for those who sat in the Senate, the House, and candidate. That's same amendment. That notwithstanding, they rejected at 13. I'm putting it back again at
okay. And Senator Skeffrey, you wanted to add, you are proposing to D to add a member of a, how you phrase that? Phrase it for me, Senator.
May I oppose it?
But you can oppose it in due course. You want to say something on it? You want to say something on it?
I have a difficulty sometimes when you you see, you appoint persons from interest groups. When they go on these boards and committees, they tend not to bring an overall view to their responsibility, but take on just a charge that they are representing this group, and that is their agenda. And it can be inimical to the committee. I think we should appoint people that have the necessary broad width of knowledge and information that can do a job completely. So whenever it is put, I intend to oppose it.
Sir, Chairman, can I add to that? Because Senator Skeffrey, I tend to agree with Senator Bram. If you look at 32.4, where it speaks about a person shall be eligible to be appointed as a member of the committee, and it goes on to talk about person of integrity, etc., diligence. I would think that would cover your concern in terms of somebody from civil society. I don't think we should be specific about any interest group. What is that? No. Look at 4.
No, Mr. President, am I here?
I would think that would cover your concern. Society.
Mr. Chairman, am I hearing Senator Webby in adopting the argument of Senator Braham that D, 32.3D should be deleted because it addresses specific sector, financial sector, anti-corruption, public procurement. These are interest groups. So it goes to show. Let me finish. It goes to show a lack of consistency in the policy formulation. Because if we are saying human rights and other sectors like those should be excluded, on what basis do we include anti-corruption?
No, I disagree with you. The financial sector, anti-corruption and public procurement is a specific skill set that they want on the committee.
Human rights is not a specific skill set?
No, I won't.
Hello?
Mr. President.
Hello?
Thank you very much.
Chairman, I want to speak.
So the person, item 4 could or could not be some special interest.
Chairman. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello. Hello. I'm going to make Mr. Hill speak, and then you can speak, Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I would strongly agree that someone from the financial sector, somebody from anti-corruption, somebody from public procurement are particular specific skill sets. I am very wary of unelected NGOs who have a particular agenda to be elevated to be public servants just because they or I might have a particular NGO agenda and inclination. And so we have to be very wary of that, because
Mr. Brown, hold on a man.
You are going to let me finish. I said all NGOs do not get any specific elevation because I might choose to have a particular NGO. I should not be given that. I can go and make my case in the public square, but I shouldn't be elected. And Mr. Brown, Senator Brown, that's my opinion, if you don't mind. So hear me out now. I heard you out. So I'm saying I support specific skill sets, but not drawing people from areas of NGOs that have particular and narrow agendas. That's my point.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, I think we're all being very strongly supportive today. But I have to support the position of Senator Skeffrey, because if one looks, for example, at 32 subsection 2B, and look that the objective of the committee is to provide independent oversight in relation to the handling of complaints, then it is my position that when one looks at the composition of the committee, everyone here, to a large extent, brings to the table some kind of support in terms of the execution of the complaint that comes in. But there's no one there on the committee. There's no one there on the committee that is tasked with ensuring that there's a balance in the operation of it. And I think that is where the human rights person comes in. And I wondered, Minister, if it is that there may be some challenge and I can appreciate the concern in terms of how do you define a human rights group, then what is without question is the role of the public defender. And I wondered whether you would find favor in inserting that a committee member should be drawn from the office of the public defender, if not the public defender herself or himself.
Chairman.
Yes, Minister Charles.
Let me just.
Thank you very much. So we hear. There are those who oppose it, those who are in agreement with it, and that is why the standing order said that we said it. You want to say something, Senator? Go ahead.
I'm reviewing, and I'm a little confused. It says 2 members appointed or nominated by the minister responsible for national security. I am confused as to why it has to be constrained to the areas that they have to be from. The Minister of National Security should, within his purview, feel it important for certain things to be appointed. Why is it that we have to have a financial sector or anti-corruption or public procurement? In particular because anti-corruption fits into this kind of interest group that we speak. So I agree with you that I am not one for every single group that forms themselves or organize themselves to be appointed to a board. And I'm not in the habit of seeking to say which issue is more important to government. However, when I see anti-corruption as an area of expertise, I don't know if of that training. This seems to be an interest group that you're saying should be on it.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask Senator Skeffrey to just phrase the proposed amendment. So members, would you please listen to the proposed? Members, please listen to the proposed amendment from Senator Skeffrey.
We are saying the minister, in his discretion, will nominate these persons. Or we are saying that the ministers will look at persons, in his opinion, that will not just represent a particular interest, but the broad interest of human rights. And if you have the minister having that authority, then I don't share, give the minister that authority to so determine. And we are saying that human rights is not important to the very nature of what we are saying. So at the fourth heading, and give the minister that discretion.
Senator Skeffrey is proposing an amendment to add a 4th category of person drawn from with the skill set of human rights advocacy. Correct? Beautiful. So I'm going to put that amendment. Those in favor? Against? Okay. Okay. Senator Brown, you all remember, I get into you. I get into you now. Because I have Senator Brown's. You remember Senator Brown's amendment, members? Senator Brown's amendment, which is being proposed, that deals with an issue that it's the same amendment that he had put for earlier clause. Remind me again, Senator Brown, where you are, where it is? Yes, 31.5, an amendment to 31.5. No, okay, you have something different? I thought it was different. Go ahead then, go ahead.
Yes, as it relates to the same clause, I'm proposing that we remove the constraints that the minister nominate 2 persons. I don't understand why it is necessary for us to say 2 persons from A, B, C, or D.
You want to propose a motion, you want to propose the removal of the categories completely.
Of the categories.
Those in favor?
Aye, over the...
Against? Okay. Senator Brown now. Senator Brown, just restate it for me again. It was a similar amendment.
As was put.
I'd made a note of it. So
essentially what you're saying, that within 5 years I've been in the Senate.
Right, okay. So, yeah. Within 5 years, the person should not be eligible if the person within 5 years had sat in the Senate, House, or municipality, or in fact run as a candidate to any of these organizations. Those in favor? Those in favor? Against? No. Okay. So I put now section, so I put the amendments to section, where am I, 30? The amendments to, yes, okay. The amendments to 32, those in favor? Against? I put 32 as amended. I am at 33, and there is an amendment to 33, the deletion of paragraph D. Those in favor of the amendment? Those in favor of the amendment? Against? Ayes have it. I put clause 33 as amended. Those in favor? Against? Ayes have it. I am at clause 34, which is the amendment is contained on page 5 of the amendment sheet, and I put the amendment. Those in favor? Against? Ayes have it. I put clause 34 as amended. Those in favor? Against? The ayes have it. Clause 35. There are no amendments on the sheet relative to this, so I put clause 35. Those in favor? Against? The ayes have it. There are amendments significant to clause 36. Minister, you want to address them briefly?
The amendment to clause 36B, Mr. Chairman, based on the belief that it was improper for the committee which was conducting the investigation into the officers and operation of the agency generally to also be affecting its discipline. And so
okay.
Yes, that's the...
So I put the amendments to clause 36. Those in... Sorry, go ahead, Senator Brown.
At the existing B, I'm not sure if you're changing it. There seems to be a typo. The an officer.
Where is that, Senator Brown?
In line 3 from the top. No, it says the.
Where are you?
Line 3, performance of duty. The an officer. One of them articles need to.
Yeah, that paragraph has been deleted.
You're deleting B totally?
Yes. And substitute,
right,
yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Right.
So I put the amendment to clause 36. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. I put clause 36 as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Clause 37.
And 38, Mr. Chairman. No
and
amendments.
38, there are no amendments to those clauses, and I put them together, if you don't mind. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Clause 39, Minister.
Yes, in clause 39, Mr. President, we have, Mr. Chairman, we have deletions which also resulted from some concerns raised regarding the criminalizing of matters which could properly be treated by oversight committee or by disciplinary proceedings. And so that paragraph has been deleted.
Thank you very much. So I put the amendment to clause 39. Those in favor?
Mr.
Aye.
Sorry.
It's not for any amendment. I'm just seeking some clarification in respect to 39D and E, where it speaks about knowingly making false declaration or false statement of a material nature in any information provided to an officer, as well as in, it's D and the E which speaks about furnishing information which may be false or misleading. So, for example, Mr. Chairman, if one is compiling a dossier to provide the information, and it contains information like what I saw in the media, where one check was written at a particular municipal corporation, which was done without prior approval, and that report, that publication is placed in a dossier that is provided to the officer. But then it turns out that there are 112 checks that were signed without approval and without proper documentation. Would that constitute an offense?
That would be my understanding.
It would amount to an offense.
Yes. Well, what you described a while ago is a criminal act. It's a nature of corruption. This is why we have this bill, to scourge it out of the country.
The amendment was 39.
It may have an, but Mr. But
Chair.
At least what I appreciate with your comment is that you see where it is going, because it may require the resignation of a mayor. It may require the resignation of the mayor. Don't worry, sir.
Chairman, based on the legal advice, provided to us by Senator Charles, it definitely suggests that the mayor of Manchester should resign.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. President, Chairman, that's not how we do it. Chairman, today in the Observer, there's an article criticizing abuse of privilege by a minister in the Senate. And I'm suggesting, as exuberant as my friends are, if a matter is on its way to the court, they should the standing order requires that you treat it with a certain way. And I think that it's an abuse.
Senator Brown,
it's an abuse.
Nobody has been charged.
Senator Brown, I agree with you, but if you did leave the ball alone, you never had to play it.
I want them to be able to say that you disagree with Senator Samuda.
But saying that somebody has been charged, Mr. Chairman, is not the case. I'm not aware of the mayor of Mandeville being charged.
I put the amendment to clause 39. Those in favor? Those in favor? Against? Ayes have it. I put clause 39 as amended. Those in favor? Against? The ayes have it.
There are no proposed amendments.
40
up to 43, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I put clauses 40, 41, and 42. Those in favor?
43 as well.
And 43.
Yeah.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. I'm at clause 44.
There is a minor amendment to 44, which is listed on page 6, deletion of words, substitution of a word.
Thank you very much. So I put the...
Chair.
Yeah, 44.
44.3 as it is here. I note that there may be an omission, and I wish to point the minister to 44.3 says, an officer who is transferred and secondment pursuant to subsection 1 may be deployed in the public service on or before, and day referred to in section 1. I suspect it's the appointed day that is missing. And if it's at the penultimate, just after before, in 44.3, I suspect the appointed date might have been missing. And so I just asked them to check to see whether or not before the referred, yeah. So something is missing there, and they need to capture.
Minister, just let us deal with that, please.
Period. Thank you, Senator.
So I put the amendments to clause 44. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. I put clause 44 as
You
amended.
included period?
Yes, yes, sir.
Good.
I put clause
45 and 46.
45 and 46. No amendments to those. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Minister, before I get to the schedule, should I just... Ms. Gibson? Okay. So, Minister, there are...
Yes. Well, let's start with your permission, Chairman, clause 2.
Okay.
And I carry my colleagues to...
All right, so hang on. So I propose to recommit clause 2. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, Minister, go ahead with respect to clause 2.
As regards to clause 2, Mr. Chairman, we have...
Sorry, those are the amendments which are on the sheet now?
Yes.
Or were these done already?
No, this is an amendment which is listed on the new sheet, which was handed at the last sitting.
So we have an amendment to clause 2, which is contained on the, pardon?
It's contained, particular to 1, section 4 of the Registration, Birth and Death Act.
Yeah, I see that.
Yes, that
so I
was
put
changed.
those amendments to clause 2. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. I put clause 2 as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it.
Clause
I
3.
propose the recommittal of clause what?
3. Clause 3.
But there is nothing on that on the sheet.
Well, I crave your indulgence. There's a matter. It's not on the sheet, but it was raised, I believe, by Senator Brown. And I would want to raise, because I did discuss it this morning, as regards to the operational independence. You recall that, Senator? Yes. And so whether or not sufficient is required for it to be deleted. Sufficient. For sufficient to be deleted, as it really adds no value
Okay,
to
so
the concept.
section 3 is recommitted, and there is a proposed amendment to remove the word sufficient. Those in favor?
It's
against?
It adds nothing.
Against? So the ayes have it. I put clause 3 as amended. Thank you, Senator Skeffrey.
Yes.
No, man, we have no, Senator Skeffrey and I have no problem in that other place.
Also, there is clause 6, Mr. Chairman.
So clause 3, I put in clause 3 as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Good, excellent. Go ahead, Minister.
Clause 6, Mr. Chairman, in which you have simply inserted there the reference to the 7th schedule, which has been...
Okay, so those in favor of recommitting clause 6. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Clause 6. There's amendment 2, which is on the sheet, page 1.
6.
Yes. Those in favor of the amendment?
That's a reference to the 7th schedule. Aye.
Against? Clause 6 as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. It is proposed to recommit clause 7. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Clause 7 is recommitted. Minister, there is an amendment.
Yes, as listed.
Those in favor of the amendment to clause 7?
Aye.
Those in favor of clause 7 as amended?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Clause 9. Those in favor of recommittal? Against? I put the amendment to clause 9, which has been recommitted. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. And actually, clause 12, did we deal with that? We dealt with that, right?
We dealt with clause 12.
But there are two things, yeah. Yeah, so there were 3 clauses to be recommitted, we had noted, 29 and 30, but there was one before that. Can somebody help me? 12.
12.
Okay. So section clause 12 is recommitted. Is it 12?
No, we're...
Why did I think that there were 3 clauses to be recommitted? 29, 30, and one more. Ms. Gibson, can you help me? 12. It's 12. We didn't take 12, you know.
I think we had also looked at clause 22, Mr. Chairman.
Pardon?
22.
22 was the other one.
Not
Okay.
12. We had treated with 12.
All right, so 22.
Yes, we took all of them.
May 22 be recommitted. Ah, you're perfectly right. May 22 be recommitted. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
But there's no need for amendment to 22.
So I think you were to, there was a question of the removal of 2, 3, and 4, and Senator Brown wanted some further clarification.
And I'm taking the minister's assurance that this clause, as it is, conforms with the financial requirement for government agencies to seek the permission of the Minister of Finance, the approval before loans. I take that.
Thank you very much. So I put the amendment to clause 22. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. I put 22 as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. So we are 29 and 30. Minister, you were supposed to take some...
Yes. 29 and I crave indulgence.
The timeline, yeah.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Sure. Go ahead. That's supposed to be for grocery, you know, not to pack up the things a minute, you know.
Mr. Chairman, as it regards to section 29(3) to be recommitted, and I know that that is also with reference to section 34, which is the other matter for recommitter.
No, Skip was...
No, I'm at 29(3).
29(3).
Yes, and what was the other one for recommitter?
Allow me 34.
34. So the two somewhat related.
Yeah. One is specific.
29 is a report which is not within the repose of the minister. That's a report he would be receiving, as it is in distinction to 30. And so I believe that what the basis of it was that we would want to give the minister an opportunity to be able to assimilate without having any time constraint for section 29. As in 30, you would have a greater role in it, and that is why there's a specificity of the time within which he's given to 1 month. So there's no need for us to have any amendments to either section 29(3) or 34. If you have, however, proposed amendments, put them.
No, but just seeking clarification with what you said. If you go to section 2, he has to receive the reports within no later than 4 months at the end of the financial year. So there's a time bound there. But after he gets it,
yes,
there's no time bound as to when he should report to Parliament.
Because we really can't dictate what he's going to get. And so I think what it is saying is we wouldn't want to tie the hands of the minister in the determination of how he would treat that report.
No, we're not tying the minister hand, but we're putting the minister on a certain timeline for efficiency and accountability to the people of the country.
What we could do is say a reasonable timeline.
So later than up, and then if he's not able to, then we can always seek extension from the Parliament, which is the people's representative.
We would not, in this case, be able to contemplate what exactly he's going to treat with. If you might, what we could do is introduce a wording, if it suits you, such as reasonable time.
But Minister, just think it through. If we are saying that the state agency, the civil servants, must, at the end of within 4 months, at the end of the financial year, and all they do now is to present that report to the minister.
Yes.
And we are saying that, and we are saying the minister has an open-ended period wish to analyze and table a report? I'm saying within 3 months of receiving it or 2 months, I stand guided, but I'm saying it can't be this open that you say the civil servants, the state agency must report within 4 months at the end of the financial year. And then the minister who reports to the people, he has no timeline in which to table this report. It's to table the report in the parliament.
Minister, you're suggesting that you would put the word reasonable?
You could put the word reasonable based on advice from the technical team as well. So if that could be sufficient, you could put the word reasonable, which would put not a specific timeline, but it would give at least some clear direction that it's not an open-ended situation. For
it's not sufficient, but I know you will vote me down, so I'll accept a reasonable word for consensus going forward.
All right, so the amendment would read, the minister shall cause a copy of, shall, within a reasonable time.
Yes.
Okay? So that's the amendment proposed. The minister shall, within a reasonable time, comma, cause a copy, etc. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Section 29 as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. No, 30 no. It has been recommitted. 30 has been. Minister, you have something. What you had said about 30?
Well, I had indicated, Mr. Chairman, that further to advise.
No change to that?
There's no change.
Okay, so I put section 30, clause 30.
Question I want for clarification. In the era of accountability, it applies very much to 29th. What if the minister failed? What provisions are there in our system to ensure that the minister within a month? I mean, we have in the Senate, for example, Senator Charles, Senator Sinclair, provisions in standing orders for answers to be given in 21 days. That's not usually followed.
21 months.
So what I want to know is what action shall be taken against a minister who fails to deliver that report within the month that is required. Because too often the Parliament, and in the past, there have been a lot of improvement, but for too often we get reports very late, a very little value for understanding. For example, today we got a report for 2017-2018 from the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology, a most current report. So I could look at issues like fence and wall and executive salary or part executive salary. I could look at it here.
Thank you, Senator Brown.
Yeah, my understanding, Senator Brown, and I appreciate the concern that you have, is that since it is a report that would be laid to the House of Representatives and the Senate, it is the Parliament that would have the obligation and authority to treat with the absence of that report. The Parliament could deal with it.
Thank you very much. So I put I put clause 30. Those in favor? Aye. Against? Ayes have it. And we move to the schedules. And there is an amendment to the first schedule.
Yes, there's an amendment, significant amendment.
It is contained in the amendment sheet, and I put the amendment to the first schedule. Those in favor? I put the amendments. So we're dealing with the first schedule and the amendments there too. Any comment? Senator Brown?
All right.
Any other comment on
Yes,
the...
on the first schedule. Minister, you'd recall that after the last sitting, yeah, I just wanted the minister's attention because someone had brought to his attention. Yeah, you finished? On page, draw your attention to clause 25 on page 33. You recall at E, Offense Against a Persons Act. You recall at after the last sitting, Minister, I brought to your attention setting fire to, it says ship. I suspect it ought to be shop. At 25 on page 33. And I don't know if your technical people had a chance to look at it to see whether or not it is setting fire to ship, etc., or setting fire to S-H-O-P, shop. And it just maybe just a technical issue that I think we need to be clear, so we don't send this elsewhere saying ship when it should be shop, or if it is intended to be ship.
Minister, the question is it ship or shop?
Or ship, sorry, with a P. So be careful. I don't want it to be said by all. We're checking. I believe it is ship.
Marine. Why don't say marine vessel?
Because it is what is already in the legislation. But it is, again, another reasonable question. But it's ship.
Okay, so I put the
shop would be under section 14, maybe.
So I put the amendment to schedule, the first schedule. Those in favor?
Mr. Chairman,
sorry.
I just have a question for the Minister.
First schedule again?
First schedule.
Okay,
just a
so
general question.
go ahead, I'll put it again.
I wonder, Minister, because I'm just going through it and I see the different range of offenses, some more serious than others. And I just wonder whether there's going to be, in a very simple way, whether there's going to be any work left for the police force after this, because it seems to me that almost every offense almost every offense is being deemed a major offense. For example, look at section page 35.
Yes.
36 N.
35?
Yes, right. 35, 36 N. Living on the earnings of a prostitute.
Section, living on earnings
of a prostitute.
It's not a serious offense? Could not be connected to?
I don't know if it falls within the threshold of, for example, abduction of a child with intent to have sexual intercourse or forcible abduction. I don't know if it falls within the same category. I stand to be guided, but I wonder if it falls within the category. Just a clarification I'm seeking, sir.
Let me say this. There are several of the paragraphs that have been removed. After some significant and very calculated evaluation by the technical teams, looking on the paragraphs based on the concerns that were raised. In a very serious way, they have looked through, they have deleted several paragraphs, 1, 7, 11 paragraphs relating to agriculture, country fires, metal and jewelry. Anything that has been left here in Schedule 1 is left further to a determination by the officers who are from the technical team that it is connected to or required for them to advance the efforts of MOCA. Some of these things may very well not read immediately to be serious offenses based on your interpretation, but they can be connected to several things that are required for MOCA to achieve
if I can just add,
their result.
Senator Fraser Binns, Senator
They have
Fraser-Binns.
they've refined it, I mean, almost
Senator
half.
Fraser-Binns, I think that particular thing is a human trafficking issue.
Yes. Well, not only that, connected to that and more.
Anyway, okay, thank you very much for your intervention, Fraser.
Yes. And
so I put the amendment to the first schedule. Those in favor?
Aye.
I put the first schedule as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. I put the second schedule.
You
Those
could go
in
from
favor?
second to fourth.
Pardon?
Second to fourth.
Okay, second, third, and fourth schedules. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, schedules 2, 3, and 4. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Senator 5. Senator Schedule 5.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's an amendment to Schedule 5 in that the reference to circuit court was removed for the offences. All matters are tribal in the parish court, and so it was believed that it is a competent court to treat with the nature and seriousness of the reference offences, and that was actually raised by Senator Knight at the last instant.
Thank you very much. So I put the amendment to Schedule 5.
Chair, in respect to the fifth schedule, we are concerned, as we have always been, to the practice, having deleted the from, all right, I'll withdraw. I was concerned about fine and imprisonment, but those are deleted.
Thank you, Senator Brown. So I put the amendments to this fifth schedule. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. I put the fifth schedule as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. I put I put the sixth schedule. Those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. I put the title and enacting clause. Those in favor?
There's the seventh schedule, very important seventh schedule, Mr. Chairman, which the powers conferred on
this is a new schedule?
Sir, this is a new schedule.
Sorry, just before you get there. Mr. President, Chair, it's a typo in a sense, but on page 44, I just asked to reschedule at the fifth schedule. In the under brief description.
So if I don't have to reschedule it, just bring it to the attention of the
on page 44, the brief description of offences, willfully making a false statement to mislead or attempt to mislead the agency, the Director General. I suspect it's an AN officer as against ON. Have you seen it?
Thank you very much. You picked up that, people. Thank you very much, Senator Brown.
Yeah.
So the seventh schedule is a new schedule.
It's a new schedule, Mr. Chairman, and it's a very important schedule which defines the powers that the MOCA agents will have, so that there's no arbitrary manner in which they will repose their operations, and so that there's no conflict with the purpose or duplication with the functions carried out by the constabulary force, as was also raised by Senator Binns a while ago. So here you will see powers of arrest without a warrant, power of arrest with a lawfully obtained warrant, power of entry, search and seizure, power to stop and search specified equipment without a warrant and with a warrant, which has been laid out in detail in the seventh schedule.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Sinclair.
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to see the inclusion of this particular schedule. I was actually wondering whether it was amending the one that was previously there. But in particular, and having regard to our experience with MOCA and their operation so far, because I do recall, Mr. Chairman, that when they visited the Manchester Municipal Corporation and they took some computers. No, seriously, two former mayors, and one who sat in this parliament criticize Mocha on the numbers that of officers that they thought
Chair,
they had to take.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Point of order. Point of order. The matter that the member is raising, I understand to be a matter in the courts of the country, and therefore it is improper under our standing orders for the matter to be raised at this time.
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry.
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, if I could quickly respond to...
No, it's not for you to respond. It's for the chairman to respond.
No, he's to rule. The chairman is to rule, but I want to respond. I want to respond, Mr. Chairman.
Learned counsel who is addressing me, no doubt, is aware of that particular rule. I don't have to remind him, so let him continue.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman. And not only that, I'm not addressing the issue that is before the court. And the issues that are there are pertaining to a particular charge. I am speaking to an operation. And it can apply anywhere, because I do believe that these agencies, they must determine that when they go in, as they are expected to go in again, with the 112 checks that have been signed without proper documentation, Mr. Chairman, that they must determine the numbers, but critically what I see in the provision 32C, which allows for them to keep these computers or gadgets or anything that they seize for a period until the determination of the matter or until the determination of the investigation, that persons who hold these responsible offices and who sit in Parliament must not go on a public platform and criticize our state agencies for actions that they are properly taking. So I'm happy that this provision has been put here. We must give, if we are serious about what we are here contending, don't criticize them in their operations in respect to those frivolous things as to numbers of persons and what they may take as part of their investigation.
Very much. So,
Chair, if justice is not a Christ that virtue beyond criticism and so forth, I can't see any state agent. I'm not going as far as President Trump and Giuliani, but I can't see any state agency that is beyond the criticism of the elected or appointed representatives of the people. Okay, those who want to put that view may wish to live in a dictatorship. I don't, and we on this side
the question
have no such interest in a dictatorial.
Is that a new section, a new Schedule 7 be incorporated into the legislation. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. And I now ask for the approval of Clause 7. In favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Schedule 7, sorry. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I just had to check the records just to see that we, at the last instance, it seems the record has us at Clause 8. And so just to be careful. Schedule. I'm going back.
Schedule.
The last sitting, I had indicated, based on records, that we started Clause 12. And I'm saying to you, I check in the record.
Check to just ensure that.
I just want to be clear. So if we could, we dealt with 9 and we dealt with 10 and 11 today.
Yes.
Well, did we deal with 11? No. So just to be clear, I just want us to go back to
well, there's no harm in me putting it again.
Clause
if you
8,
have a
10 and 11.
Okay, so clauses.
There's no issues with it. Clause 8? Aye.
So I put clause 8, 10 and 11.
10 and 11.
Clause 8, 9,
8, 9, 10 and 11.
8, 9, 10 and 11. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. That's out of an abundance of caution.
Yes.
Thank you, Minister. So I now put the title and enacting clause. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. The question is that I do report the bill as having passed committee stage with 77 amendments. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it.
Good job.
I do report the bill as having passed committee stage with 77 amendments. May I just take the opportunity to thank all persons who participated in this debate in the civil and useful manner in which it was conducted, and I wish also to just to place on record I just wish to place on record as well the fact that the Minister did an excellent job in presenting the bill today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Minister? Third time? You're asking that the bill be read for a third time?
Yes, asking that it be read a third time.
The question is that the bill be read for a third time. Those in favor? Against? The ayes have it.
A bill entitled An Act to Provide for the Establishment of an Agency of Government to be known as the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency to investigate and prosecute serious crime and matters related thereto, read a third time and passed.
Mr. President, it is fitting that I acknowledge the conduct and the team effort of my colleagues in the passing of this legislation, one which is critical to the national security framework for our country. Mr. President, there's no further business to be carried out today, and so we ask that the Senate be postponed until the next sitting.
Mr. President?
My apologies.
Mr. President, on this motion of adjournment, I must say that hard work must be acknowledged and must be rewarded, and I use this opportunity to congratulate students all across Jamaica on their success in the GSAT examinations. And I'm sure that our colleague, Senator Reid, he would have preferred to be here to have done the honors. And the performance, Mr. President, I understand that it can only be described as staggering, as a significant number of our students got almost perfect scores. We congratulate their teachers, their parents, their family, the entire school family and the community. And let us continue to work hard so that our children can live in an environment that will have all the supporting tools and mechanisms that they need to grow. And for the students who may be disheartened that they were not placed at the school of their choice, we encourage them to work hard and that indeed they can be successful wherever they go. We continue to support our students who may be struggling, and we will put all the necessary support that they will need to come up to par. I'm certain that there are senators here, like Senator Don Webby. You are excited about encouraging going down to St. George's College. I'm certain, I don't know who will be heading off to Campion, who will be going off to St. Jago High School, who will be going to Cornwall and Calabar and Glenmuir and Arden and Charlemont and all those schools. We especially thank our teachers, Mr. President.
Thank you.
We thank our teachers. We commend our teachers. Congratulations to all students across Jamaica. Thank you.
Indication that Senator was going to speak, I would have indicated to you so you could have responded appropriately. But if you wish, you may respond. You may respond if you wish. Senator Skeffrey.
Mr. President, let me, too, on behalf of the opposition, congratulate the many students, parents, teachers, and other critical stakeholders. I continue to support parents, teachers, students, and other stakeholders. Support our students as they prepared for the exams and also to prepare them for the results. Because many times it's after the exam that anxiety during that period sometimes can be very, very difficult for our students. Let me say to all the students who have been placed in a school of their choice. And we have to understand what they mean by choice, because they actually have 7 choices. You know? So sometimes there's a misinterpretation when we say the choice, because sometimes it's not their first choice, or even the third, because they have 7 choices, and when we say 80% have gotten a choice is really from that group of 7. So I want to put it in context, because sometimes we convey a set of information out there. Also, let us ensure that we continue to upgrade our secondary schools. The disparity that still exists at the secondary level is what creates that fear and anxiety. We don't have many, we have 45 so-called traditional schools, and then the rest are what we call upgraded schools or technical schools. And the reality, Mr. President, while many fight for those 45 places, because in terms of science education, for example, if you don't have a good science lab, then you are at a great disadvantage. And many of our schools, despite the effort to upgrade, and I'm not dismissing that, we still are not reach where we want to go. Internet access in our classrooms is still a challenge. So as we prepare them from the primary school and integrate technology, we must also ensure that there's a smooth transition. And this notion of zoning that we are showing out there in the public domain won't be accepted and won't be practical until we have parity across all schools. So whether you go to upgraded school or traditional school, if you want to be a civil engineer or a doctor, the real opportunity presents itself. I know the decline in mathematics, though a marginal decline, and we know the importance of mathematics towards creating the problem solving and critical thinking skills of our learners. So we need to commend the teachers, but encourage them to do more, and also to ensure that we provide the nutritional levels in our schools so the students can learn. And also give credit to some of those persons who have pioneered the policies. We are reaping some rewards today, but let's understand that in education, the reward is not something that is instant. So former Minister of Education, Ronald Twist, and his chief advisor, Dr. Johnston, have played a critical role in some of the rewards that we are earning here today. And we thank the current minister for continuing on that path, because when our students benefit, it's Jamaica benefit, and the progress will continue as we advance. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Senator Scaffery. May I just before we adjourn, just bring your attention to the technical persons from the various agencies who are with us today, and ask the minister to convey our gratitude to them. Thank you very much. The question is that the Senate be adjourned for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Against?